I'm going to keep it a bean with y'all. Ever since last summer, I've been saying in Ansi we trust. And I'm not going to lie, after the NBA draft, I am still definitely saying that. I think the Atlanta Hawks are a draft winner. I'm not going to say the draft winner. I got a video coming out for that next. I'm not going to say we were the draft winner because OKC ended up with a Damara and Brendan Sturts. The Chicago Bulls ended up with Cam Wilson and Dalen Swain. But I think for what the Hawks needed to get done in this draft, we got it done. We got it done. Now, coming into the offseason, after the series against the New York Knicks, it was apparent the Hawks needed two major things. One, we needed a half-court creator, a guy that can score in the half-court, a guy that can run our offense as the point guard position. Because, yes, JJ is a dog, and I think JJ is going to continue to ascend to superstardom. This was his first year being the guy, and he was an all-star, and he led us to the playoffs for the first time in a couple seasons. And we were even up 2 games on the eventual champion New York Knicks. But the thing about Jalen Johnson is a guy that plays in the flow of the game. When the game slows down, Jalen Johnson's production slows down. He's not the biggest half-court option. That's why we saw CJ McCollum become such a major story in that first round of the playoffs, because when the game slowed down, when the Knicks decided they were going to stop us from getting fast break opportunities, CJ McCollum was able to step in and hit some big-time shots, and 2 of those big-time shots gave us 2 of the playoff wins that we got. So, coming into this draft, I said, okay, we got to go out and get one of these guards. This was a very guard-heavy draft, and I had 3 or 4 guards on my list of guys that I wanted to get. Of course, Darius Acuff out of Arkansas, my favorite guard in the draft. I knew he wasn't going to be there at 8. He got taken by the Kings at 7. I love Mikael Brown Jr. Mikael Brown Jr. ended up going 6 to the Nets. Number 5, I was looking at Keaton Wagler. Keaton Wagler ends up going 5 to the Clippers. So with this draft, to be honest, I would have been happy with any of the guards. Any of those guards, and eventually, Kingston Fleming, who we ended up drafting with the 8th overall pick, I would have been happy with any of them guards. And I think it's actually poetic how all 4 of them guards went back to back to back to back. From the 5th pick being Keaton Wagler, the 6th pick Mikael Brown, the 7th pick being Darius Acuff, and the 8th pick being Kingston Fleming to the Hawks. I think it's just a testament to how good those guards are, and it was kind of just pick your poison. Which one do you want? Which one do you need? Kingston Fleming, to me, is a good pick. He's a good selection. I think there is definitely some improvement that he could have in terms of being an offensive engine, because I think those other guys are probably better offensive engines right now in terms of just running the team on the offensive end. But the way that Ansi Saleh and the way that Quinn Snyder have coached the Hawks, especially since the Trae Young trade, it has been in a way that does not require offensive engine, because you have a bunch of guys that go out there and play make. Jalen Johnson, of course, is the lead facilitator, the point forward. He averaged over 8 assists last season. We saw times when CJ McCollum came in and was the ball handler, the facilitator. Dyson Daniels probably was the secondary facilitator behind Jalen Johnson, and that's cool, but he can't shoot, so that kind of concerns me. We even saw times when Nickeil Alexander-Walker would come in and be a guy that had the ball in his hands a whole bunch. But getting a Kingston Flemings, a guy that was the point guard or was a lead guard in college at Houston, and I believe was pretty good at it, bringing him in is going to be really, really good. Kingston Fleming is also a guy that could come in and play some defense as well. So in those predicaments when we saw last year when the Dyson Daniels had to go sit down because he was nothing on, he wasn't giving us anything on the offensive end, Kingston Fleming can come in and still be a good producer on the defensive end. And I think that is big as well. I believe, looking at the way Ansi treated the trading situation, he did not want to go after another small guard, especially when that was not going to play both sides of the ball. So I feel like Darius Acuff was never on Ansi Saleh's draft board unless he was the last guard that was going to be available. But I'm happy with Kingston Fleming. I'm happy with him for sure. I think he's going to be a very, very good piece. And the thing about this draft, and they said it on the broadcast of the draft, they said that this draft is going to be a draft where guys know what they're supposed to be doing. They're not coming in to just grow and develop. They're coming in to be immediate contributors to potential good teams. Like you look at literally the top 3 guys in the draft. DP, AJ, and Cam Boozer. Those three guys are going to teams where they could potentially fight for a play-in or a playoff spot. Now, Cam Wilson in the Eastern Conference could probably fight for a play-in or a playoff spot, but we got to see how that team shakes out. They're cooking over there in Chicago, by the way. But you look at the Hawks, Kingston Fleming could come in, and if he can give us like freaking 15 points a game off the bench, because I do believe he'll be coming off the bench to start his career off, that's big production. That's great production, and I think he's definitely capable of that. And looking down the line, he is CJ McCollum's replacement. CJ McCollum's timeline does not fit with the timeline of the guys we got on the roster. Kingston Fleming going to come in, take that spot, and then we're going to go from there. Kingston Fleming was one of my guys. He was probably my second favorite guard behind Darius Cuff in the draft. I just love his game, and I love his athleticism. I love how he plays on both ends of the floor. He's going to have a lot of fun in the Hawks. I cannot wait until Summer League starts, y'all. I can't wait until Summer League starts. Now, the next need that the Hawks needed. They needed some size. They needed some interior presence because we played a small ball brand of basketball in last season. You know, Double O being 6'8", 6'9" on a good day as our center is not sustainable if you want to contend for a championship. And we saw that in the series against the Knicks because the Knicks, yes, we made it a competitive series. We actually had a lead in the series, but they dominated the glass. They dominated the interior. I think the numbers was we averaged 36.5 rebounds per game. They averaged 46 rebounds and 46.5 rebounds a game in the playoff series. So you can't afford to get bullied like that and expect to win a playoff series. You got to be perfect. You got to shoot the lights out the ball if that's going to happen. And where that series went, we really wasn't shooting the ball too crazy outside of the second half of game 2 and game 3. So I said, okay, we got to go out and get it big. Go out and get it big. My biggest want, I know I said Kingston Fleming was my second favorite guard in the draft, but the player that I wanted the most for the Hawks was Ade Mara. Ade Mara, 7'3" Spaniard out of Michigan. We wanted him. I wanted him bad. I felt like he would come in and fill a lot of holes, being a 7-foot guy that can protect the rim, rebound, block shots. He's very actually skilled on the offensive end, can step out and hit a jumper. He has touch around the basket. He's an underrated passer. I wanted him. But us going Kingston Fleming took him off of our board. So we get to the number 23 overall pick in the draft. And I'm thinking, okay, bet. We go Chris Sinat. Chris Sinat Jr. out of Houston. Bring in the Houston boys, and we're going to be lit. The Hawks decided to go with Zuby Ejiofor. And I'm going to be honest, the Zuby Ejiofor pick, I wasn't a fan of it. I wasn't a fan of it because I felt like there were plenty of bigger, more athletic guys that we could have added to the roster that would have had an immediate impact. You know what I'm saying? Zuby Ejiofor kind of fits in the mold with a Double O, that we have right now. A do-it-all big that is undersized, but he can get away with it because he's very, very physical. He's going to play hard every single play. But we got Zuby Ejiofor, and once I calmed down from not getting a bigger guy, I was able to sit back and think, man, Zuby Ejiofor, yes, he's not the biggest, but he plays hard. He plays hard. He has effort. He averaged over 16 points and 7.5 rebounds last year at St. John's, and he can be a contributor to the team for sure. For sure. That this is a guy that they're comparing him to a Draymond Green type of player, a guy that can come in and do it all. He's a good passer, a good defender, a good scorer, a good rebounder. He can come in and do it all. But I think if he develops a 3-point shot, if Zuby Ejiofor can develop a 3-point shot the same way that Double O did, then we're cooking with grease. We're cooking with some hot grease for sure. But I think what made the Zuby Ejiofor pick even better was us getting Henry Versar in the second round. Henry Versar, 7-foot big man out of UNC. He was a guy that was supposed to go like early second round or late first round. If he would have went back to college next season and played, he would have been a lottery pick for sure. Because I think he was really good at UNC. He averaged, his numbers weren't that crazy, but his impact on the floor was great. And for us to be able to get him for a steal at 51, this is a first round talent. This is a first round talent that we were able to get. First of all, for cheap. He's probably going to sign a 2-way contract. We're going to get him for cheap, and we got him at the best value at the end of the draft. So I look at him and I look at how he can contribute to the team. He automatically going to be fighting for second team center minutes. automatically, because you look at the Hawks last year, I think a big thing that messed us up in the playoffs was losing Jock Landale, because Jock Landale was a 7-foot guy that was a bigger body and could step out, hit three as well. So being able to bring him in when Double O sat down over Tony Bradley would have heavily helped us out in that series. And Jock Landale, Henry Verzar right now is probably equivalent to Jock Landale. Now, I believe Henry Verzar better become way better than Jock Landale is, I tell you that much. But where he fits in with the team is apparent. It's no question where he fits with the team. And I know Quinn don't like playing the rookies. He don't like playing no rookies. Asanul didn't really play that much last season. Let Henry play, because we know where he fits. I want to see more of Asa this year as well. You know what I'm saying? But through it all, if I was to give the Hawks draft a grade, I would give it like I'd probably go like a B+. Because I think we definitely could have hit on a Chris Sinak Jr. out of Houston at 23. But hitting on Henry Verzar later in the draft is a definite win. And I think we definitely saw for the future, a point guard, half-court creator, that problem. I think we saw that problem in Kingston Flemings for sure. So I'm super happy with the Hawks. We got free agency coming up. We will have a draft winners and losers video coming out really, really soon. But I'm just super excited. Super excited for the Hawks. Super excited for Summer League starting, I want to say, next week. But until next time, I'm going for 2. We out of here. Yay.